Hello, hello. How are you doing? Good morning, everybody. We are here to talk about personal branding. So, while you all join me on my live session, I'm going to have a sip of tea. Stop drinking coffee, being healthy. And also stop drinking milk, so you don't want to see what this tea looks like. It's got coconut, what's this stuff called? Yeah, coconut milk. Yeah, coconut milk. In my Starbucks cup, so I feel like I'm drinking coffee. Good morning. How are you this morning? Okay, so we're talking about personal branding today, and it is one of my most favorite subjects ever. I must be honest with you. I love the topic. I think personal branding is just so much fun to do. Not just because I'm an extrovert, but because I think that anybody who's an expert in something should make the most of their lives. That's what I believe. I believe that you have one life to reach a lot of people and to influence a lot of people with that life. So, how are you reaching and influencing people and sharing your content, your knowledge, and how are you sharing your expertise? So, I think for me, the starting point on a personal branding journey is to understand, firstly, what are you an expert in? So if you're making notes, take down this, ask yourself this question: what is my expertise around? And it may have something to do with what you do for a living, or it may not have something to do with what you're living. So you may actually be an expert in baking sourdough bread, and that might actually be your passion, more so than what investment banking, for example. Or you might be really passionate about how to discipline children in today's day and age, and not how to be whatever your job is. So you don't have to position yourself, morning Roger, you don't have to position yourself in any box that you have found yourself in, or for some reason life has pushed you into this box. You can decide how you want to position yourself and who you want to be. So we're talking about personal branding today. And the first question that I ask you is, what are you an expert in? So take your piece of paper and write down there your passions. And you might want to create a few columns. So you might say, one of my passions is, so if I describe myself, one of my passions is digital marketing, social media, and all the stuff that I know. The next passion that I have is in entrepreneurship and helping businesses grow, my entrepreneurial journey. So that's kind of my next pillar, content pillar. Then the next pillar for me is my spiritual walk. I am very passionate about my spiritual walk, and so that's a separate content pillar. I have other content pillars that I haven't really started speaking about yet, like how to be married successfully in today's day and age, how to raise children successfully in today's day and age. But what you can do is you can start documenting these pillars, and you are you and I am me. This is my way of doing things. This doesn't have to be your way of doing things. And the way I do it doesn't have to make sense to you. I'm just telling you what works for me, and you have to unpack what works for you. So I have chosen to keep my pillars very separate. The two pillars that I've kind of merged are my entrepreneurial journey and my digital marketing. So I've created a personal, professional profile on all the social media platforms out there. So I've created a personal, professional brand name, Dylan Kohlstädt. I've got a website. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. I've created a professional page. So this is often where it becomes blurry for people, because they'll say to me, do I mix in my personal life, like morning Anton, morning Justin, do I mix in my personal life, or do I keep it separate? What about, when I start talking personal branding, they immediately think of their private Instagram account and their private Facebook account. Now, I've kept that completely ring-fenced. In fact, I don't even update, those accounts anymore, because I'm not really into that. But what I'm passionate about is sharing knowledge. And so if you're a bit of a teacher inside, or you're a bit of you're just somebody who likes to inspire people or wants to help people. And I think somewhere inside of all of us, there's this grain of we want to help others. I think it's kind of like in the thread that's been planted in there to make sure that humanity is nice. Bye, Susan. We'll miss you. But Susan, I do want you to watch this, because this talk is really important for estate agents and real estate agents and people in property. In fact, it's important for everybody. Okay, so the first thing I need you to get out of your head is I'm not talking about your private accounts, your, personal accounts. I'm talking about going and creating active personal branded accounts, professional accounts. Now, it may make sense for you to actually use your private account. Morning, Michael. You may, like one of my great friends, one of my best friends, Mareka Braza. She is an incredibly gifted mind, body, being coach. So she can coach you on how to sort out your head, how to sort out your spirit, how to sort out your body. She's like a morning, Leanne. She's like a holistic. She's amazing, and so she's got a lot of contacts on her personal, private Facebook accounts, and so they all know her personally. And there's a very big blur between who she is personally in a private capacity and who she is professionally, because she coaches a lot of her friends and stuff like that. So it actually makes sense to post on her private account. Okay. For me, I feel like I don't know that my friends are in media and my entrepreneurial journey. It just feels a little weird to post there. They might be quite supportive. I'm sure most of them would be my true friends. But then all those other hangers-oners. Okay. So let me flip the switch, and I'm going to show you quickly here what I've done. So here's my Facebook page. So I've set up a professional Dylan Kohlstädt page where you can see I've got my open. There's a cute going on there. If you go to my Twitter, you'll see, now this is something you need to add on as step number 2 of your, so the first thing you did was you said what were your pillars. The second thing is professional photo for this season. So my season, this is the look season. Some of you might recognize I had a break for the previous season, and I felt like I needed a change. This is my professional Instagram, got about 16,000 followers there, and these are all my highlights that I've saved. And this is the grid, what I call the grid. Okay, so we got the grid, and then my Instagram. Obviously, it's easy to understand Instagram because you don't have a private account on Instagram. So I think where people's heads get a little bit cooked is when we start talking about Facebook and Instagram. Did I say Instagram? LinkedIn. I don't know. My head's a little bit fried. I've had that migraine for so many days. Okay, so here we've got our beautiful little Instagram. And can you see this nice brand continuity? And now here's my website. So the only difference in the website is it's still got this old picture, which is my previous sort of look and feel, but I quite like it, so I've left it there. Okay, so you don't have to go and create a website to start with, but I do suggest you buy the domain. If you haven't already secured your .co.za and your .com of your name, I would suggest you do that. And maybe you even want to do that for your kids' names. Might be a little bit overkill, but someday they might thank you that you actually secured their domains for them. Okay, so then so step number 1 is go and watch the LinkedIn video that we've created in this Maximize LinkedIn. Create a nice professional LinkedIn account. You can see here I've got a very strong continuity. All my accounts are at Dylan Kohlstädt. So it's very easy because I've got a unique name so everything is at Dylan Kohlstädt. If you have a name that is not unique and that hundreds of thousands of people have, you're going to have to then be a little bit more creative and come up with something interesting. Okie doke. So step number 1 for you is to decide what your content pillars are about. Step number 2 for you is to decide which platforms you're going to be on. You don't have to do all of them. I'll be honest with you, I don't love Facebook. It's not my greatest platform. Twitter's also, I don't love Twitter. I really enjoy Instagram and I enjoy LinkedIn. So the platforms that you like the most are the ones that are going to give you the most joy and that you're going to get the greatest follow because you give it the most attention. And if you have a look here in my little description, you'll see that I actually have a separate account here for my spiritual posts. So this is where you might differ from me, but I've decided to keep my spiritual thoughts and God thoughts quite separate to my business professional journey. And the reason I figured is I don't know that people who want me to be inspired to be an entrepreneur or to learn about digital marketing want to necessarily know my views on God and spirituality. So I've shared it, but it's your choice if you want to follow that. So if you look at my pillars that I talk about, my God pillar is separate. I don't make that content, but it might be your brand to mix your content. It might be, there's a lady out there that I actually follow on Instagram. I don't remember her name, but she's pink hair, and she's a digital marketer. She's an entrepreneur, and she's very much a spiritual lady, and she mixes all three of those pillars together, and that is her style. She has pink hair, and she stands out. She's also into fitness. She mixes in her fitness. So she's got pictures of herself like this, pulling muscles and stuff, and talking about God, and talking about entrepreneurship, and talking about digital marketing. So that is her brand. So this is what you have to decide is, what is my brand all about? And don't start your journey until you've figured out what your brand is about, because until you've figured out what your brand is about, you can be a little bit all over the show, and you're going to post about everything. And you're not really going to know, is this something I would post about? Is this something Dylan Kohlstädt would talk about? So you got to know what your brand, and you can refer to yourself in the third person. What would Dylan Kohlstädt say about this? So that's number one. So number one, what are your content pillars? Number two, which platforms are you going to be on? I'm losing track here. Number three, go and create those accounts. Number four, get professional photos taken or nice photos taken. I don't want any of those horrible photos at a wedding, where someone's arm's been cut off like that. But you're so beautiful because you got your makeup on and you're looking so great. But the arm, the arm that's been cut off, I really don't want to see any of those photos. So if you do decide to take a photo from your photo album. Hello, Sally Monet. Lovely to see you. My favorite dressmaker in the whole world, best designer ever. So if you've decided to, if you can't afford a professional photographer or something like that, take your phone and turn it this way. Portrait is this way. Landscape is this way. And, get the lighting right, wear nice makeup, make sure there's no ugly shadows, and take some nice photos of yourself, but against like a fairly neutral wall or a white wall or something, just something that looks professional. Okay, so that's where were we on? Step number 4, you're going to then set up these accounts. Let's flip you over there. And they're all going to have this nice, consistent look and feel. So then what you kind of need to start working out, I've also got my YouTube channel, which actually does not have the same look and feel, as you can see. This was my very, very first look and feel, which we kind of need to fix up. But there, at least that picture's, I think, the same. Need to sort that one out. And yeah, I definitely think my website's due for an upgrade, but it's better than nothing, and at least it's there. Okay, so the website you don't have to do for now, but let's get started with, okay, so which channel do you think you're going to love the most, or you feel least intimidated by? So whichever channel that is, you can start creating content for it. Now, this is the grid this grid obviously is what stays. So what we like to do on my grid is sort of checkerboard it because it's visual. But did you know that a lot of people don't actually look at the grid anymore? They just go on Insta stories. Now, Insta stories are more disposable, fun. They're not like they're not formal. They're more playful. You know what I mean? And they're kind of disposable. You don't you can save them here on your highlights. But this stuff is the weighty stuff. So this is the stuff that you really want to keep because it's weighty. And this is where you should be sharing your inspirational content, your motivational content, and you can see I've got a strong visual look and feel here. And I'll be honest with you, this is all Kirsten. Oh, Kirsten, I love you so much. You're so amazing. I love you, Kirsten. So Kirsten's been helping me with this, and look how nice all my content's got this nice, beautiful turquoise theming going on, which is my look and feel, my color scheme. So you can decide, does this content that I'm posting here belong on Twitter? Twitter is quite a different beast. So you should be creating slightly different content on Twitter. And the content on Twitter, like you can see, we're just replicating whatever we're putting out on Facebook and on Instagram. We're putting out the same thing. But Twitter is actually a different animal. It's kind of more personal, and, you can put more, it responds well to obviously live events, live news, hot news, trending topics. So whatever's trending, this kind of sort of staticky content doesn't really do well on Twitter. Twitter does well with like people asking questions, and then, the Twitter sphere responds. And then Facebook should be your biggest following, because Facebook actually is the easiest to get a huge following for. But I have neglected Facebook because I don't love it, I'll be honest with you. And so like I don't even know if we replied to comments. I'm sorry if we don't reply to you on Facebook. So we really literally we're doing what you shouldn't be doing, which is we're pasting all the content on the same across all the platforms, pretty much the same type of content. But at the end of the day, not everyone is on the same platform. So you might follow me on Facebook, or we might be, but you may not follow me on LinkedIn. So you may not see my LinkedIn content. Also, when I post the LinkedIn content, you may not be on LinkedIn, or vice versa. So it's not a bad thing to put all the content on the same, but it should be slightly different. I think I have shared with you how Gary V does it. Gary V, let's just go to his website. The way he does it, let's have a look here. Gary Vaynerchuk, who is actually my inspiration when it comes to personal branding. I suggest that you follow him and see how he does it, and you literally can just copy him, because he's like literally the guru of personal branding. So he's got this this little section on his website that explains how he uses all the different platforms, and you can see he's just he's added in TikTok here. But what I like about this is it kind of gives you an idea of what works on each platform. Now, Gary Vee has a massive team working for him and his brand all the time. So he's got let's say he's got 4 people that follow him the whole day and record him. He's got a team of video editing people. He's got analysts, basically people that look at which video does the best and then break it up into smaller snippets and then see which does the best, and then they're constantly advising him on, we need more of this, we need more of this. So don't judge yourself when you compare yourself against him, because he really does have a huge team supporting him. The whole point is that you just get started with one thing that is achievable for you. All of my talks, I just want to encourage you to not try to do everything, but to pick one thing that you have grace for and that you think, I can do this, and just do that well. So let's have a look at what Gary says here. So he's actually created a texting community. You can actually send him a text, which is extremely personal. And Instagram is his bigger platform. This is where he shares motivation, quotes, stories. YouTube, it's kind of his longer form content. So he's got 2 shows. He's got the Daily V and the Ask Gary V. And then Facebook, he just posts his best and classic content here on Facebook. Twitter, also a very direct way to reach him. You can just tweet him direct. He still uses Snapchat, and he posts some behind the scenes stuff of his life on this Snapchat. And then Instagram, my learnings and perspectives from building big businesses. So this is more of his business inspirational content goes there. And here he's got his podcast, perfect for your commute. Listen to keynotes, interviews, rants, business meetings, and more. And now he's added TikTok, which he's got some of his funniest stuff. So you can actually go and create a little strategy for yourself. Now, this is a little bit labor intensive, and this is really going to take you quite a little bit of time, because you're going to be creating content for each of these platforms, or at least you're going to be saying, okay, here's five pieces of content for the week, and this one is created for Instagram. You'll have more success if you create platform specific content. But just get started. That is my motto. Let's rather get started than be sitting here next year talking about it still. So I just want to also just throw in your blog. Now, go and watch the session that we had in the series about blogging. But your blog is also a precursor to the book that you're going to launch. Yes. So once you decide what your topic is, you need to kind of start working on, well, you don't need to, but this is an idea, is to start working on a book that you might launch. So if you start thinking like that, if I'm an expert in this topic, and believe me, you are an expert, so stop self-doubting. You know more than most people. Yes, there's always going to be someone who knows more than you, obviously, but you know more than probably 99% of people on your topic, okay? So stop self-doubting. That's the first thing when it comes to personal branding, is just ignore those voices saying, you shouldn't do this, and you don't know anything, and who do you think you are, and all your friends are going to judge you and criticize you, and everyone's going to be so mean to you. And it's actually not true. Nobody's mean to you at all, and everybody's very kind. I think I've only had one person be mean to me, and he was a bit weird anyway. So yeah, I think number one, your own head needs to get sorted out. You need to understand why you're doing this. So we should roll back to the beginning of this conversation and start with this. Why do you want to go on this personal branding journey? What is it that you want to leave? For me, I want to inspire people to achieve their goals and dreams, and to understand what it's like. You follow me because I share with you kind of like what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Also, I share digital marketing, social media tips and tricks. And so I'm hoping that's kind of why people follow me, is I want to inspire you and help you sort of get through the day and be a better person. So decide why you want to do this. And then, and also ultimately a very good idea is to work towards your book. So when you have your blog and your website going, and as I mentioned in the LinkedIn talk, you don't actually have to have a website up to blog. You can blog through LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a beautiful blogging platform built into it that you can use. And so you can even start planning out your book and your chapters of your book as part of your blog. So every week you write a new chapter of your blog, and you post that up, and at the end of maybe a year, maybe 2 years, it doesn't matter how long, because I promise you, I'm sitting here now and I still haven't written my book. I've got about 4 books that are half finished. And so it doesn't matter how many books you have work in progress. The only thing that matters is how many books you've actually published. And you don't have to send it to a publisher, because here's the beauty of personal branding. Sorry, and I'm ranting on quite a bit. But the beauty of personal branding is you get your own following. So let's say you've got your 10,000 followers on Instagram, and you've got your 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, which are very easy to get, guys. It's just a bit of effort. And 10,000 followers on Facebook, and maybe 300 followers on YouTube, because they're not easy to get, and whatever followers on Twitter. And now you launch your book, you've got the audience right there. You know, you don't necessarily need to go to a big publishing house and give away huge profits and that. The point is that you sell, you know, you may or may not want to be a bestseller. Maybe you just want to get the book out there and leave something behind, leave a legacy behind, impart your wisdom and your knowledge, share your insights, share your journey, whatever that might be. All right, so self-publishing, I'm a big fan of self-publishing. I even started a self-publishing business with my family once, but that was something for TikTok. That was funny. All right, so then you're going to start creating your content, and you're just going to start posting it out. So the question is, when you create your content, you're going to create video snippets. Watch my video talks on each of these channels, where I teach you how to use most of them. Kayla did the Instagram talk. And basically you start creating this nice content. You're going to create Instagram stories, Facebook stories. You're going to create LinkedIn content. You're going to create Twitter content. You're going to create videos. and you start creating this content of your life. So you have to start documenting your life. The one thing that I can tell you to do is I always write down in the back of my journal every sort of nugget of wisdom that comes out of my mouth. So anytime I'm speaking to somebody, I say something, I'm like, oh, that's quote worthy, that's a nugget. I'll write it down because I do forget it, and you will too. So as soon as you write something that's sort of quote worthy, that you think, oh, Sally Monet would say this, then you write that thing down and you give it to whoever's creating your stuff, or you go on Canva and you create a nice little post. For the longest time, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see I was creating all my posts myself. So it's not like I've always had people doing this for me for big periods, and you'll see when it was me, because they were like a little bit, that's not that great. But you know what? It's not important that it's great. It's important that it's being done. And you'll always look back at it and think, oh, how cringeworthy. But don't delete it, because it's part of your journey, and it's okay for it to be cringeworthy because it's your journey, and this is you documenting your journey. And I think just to touch very briefly on your personal story, like, you know, that messy divorce, or that abuse that happened to you, or your failure, that you lost the business, failure, I say in inverted commas, because nothing is a failure. You were fired, all those terrible things that are so shameful that you're trying to hide. They're actually part of your story. They're part of who you are. They're part of what makes you, firstly, pliable, compassionate human being, and secondly, they resonate with other people who've had similar experiences. So nobody's had a perfect childhood, nobody's had a perfect life, and so I weave into your stories your authenticity, and people want authenticity. So when we talk about personal branding, we are very much talking about an authentic sharing of yourself, the hard stuff, but what you learned. So some people have recovered from cancer and then gone on to become motivational speakers and just sharing their motivational story. Life is hard for a lot of people. Everybody's struggling. And so I think there's space for what you have to say. Sally, you make people look beautiful. And, Susan helps to get them into the most beautiful house. And maybe Susan, as a real estate agent, maybe your content might be on how to decorate your home. Maybe you're passionate about home decoration, less so much about selling houses. But actually what you do is all your content is about, the interior of a house and making a beautiful home. And oh, by the way, these houses are for sale. And people buy into you, and they buy from you because they like you. So Avril asked me, is one allowed to incorporate a relevant article from someone else's post, or is it plagiarism? You're absolutely allowed to quote other people. In fact, when you're writing a blog, I highly recommend quoting other people. So you're also allowed to share other people's content. So if you like my post and my stuff is very relevant to your following, you're welcome to share mine. The only thing you're not allowed to do is take my post and make out as if it was your post. I wrote a blog on why digital marketing is like Game of Thrones, and a company copied the whole thing. They just changed the wording. So somebody was like, oh, this is a great post. I'm just going to actually copy the entire thing. And so that's plagiarism. So Google actually likes it when you quote like other reputable sites. But the way to do that is to say, Dylan Kohlstädt in her article on marketing on a budget, and then you've hyperlinked that whole sentence to my original article. She lists these top 4 things for those who are marketing on a budget, boom, 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 boom. And then you can, in fact, you could even write articles, an entire article where you've taken 6 people's articles and merged it into one and just given excerpts. So let's say you're, Avril, writing a story on marketing on a budget, and you say Dylan Kohlstädt in her article says this. Then you can quote somebody else in their article says this. And you don't even have to have an original thought when you're writing an article. You can just make my life easier by, I don't have to search for those articles, and I didn't have to read all 6 of them. I now have read a shortened version thanks to you. So there is no shame in that. That is in fact how a lot of books get written. In fact, if you're writing a book, I encourage you to go and buy all the books on that topic, because you have to quote them in your book. You can't write a book on something and not actually not actually quote all the top latest books on the topic. And the reader is grateful because then they don't have to read those 17 books that you slogged through. You just have to quote them and cite your references. I think that's the main thing. Okay, guys, I hope this has been helpful. It's been a lot of fun chatting to you. I'm going to write this up into a little article on personal branding. So definitely share this video if you found it helpful, and tell your friends about this this Facebook group, Digital Marketers Unite, where we've constantly got new things happening and fun things happening, and we're always sharing the latest in digital marketing. And yeah, you're welcome to send me your personal branded look and feel, your Instagrams, your Facebooks, your Twitters. Send it to me, and I'm happy to have a look at it, and send me your first blogs. I'd love to see what you guys are doing. Oh, and Lola wants to say hello. She says she agrees. Okay, we better go before this gets loud. Okay, guys, have a wonderful rest of week, and I will chat to you soon. Keep well. Bye, guys. Bye.